Hi, I'm Richard DeVos with Vintech. We create software that makes work and life better. Let me introduce you to an app that helps you make better decisions. Her name is Desdi. She'll help you break a decision down into simpler pieces, then she'll use advanced Monte Carlo simulation to show you how the decision is likely to turn out. Why is Desdi important? Because we all make decisions. Your life and your projects depend on these decisions. When we make a decision, we cut away options in opportunities. When a business makes a plan, or we choose a job, we say yes to one path and no to other paths. Choosing which way to go is tough because we cannot know how the future will unfold. For example, you make a plan expecting more customers. Maybe you get more customers and profits soar. Or maybe your largest customer goes bankrupt and profits crater. All sorts of things can happen. That's uncertainty. We cannot know how things turn out. And this uncertainty can make us anxious. Yet we can't escape it. To make a good decision, we have to consider the uncertainties. And this is where Desdi helps. With 3 simple steps. First, she'll help you break down the decision into smaller pieces. Second, she'll help you apply a range of possible values to each piece. And then third, she'll simulate the outcome for you with Monte Carlo. More about that later. Let's see how Desdi makes this easy to do with a simplified business decision as an example. Suppose you're budgeting for business and one option is to replace an aging piece of machinery. So there's the decision. Should you lease this new machine to improve profits? Let's evaluate it with Desdi. We start by selecting the Desdi app. After Desdi loads, we add a decision and describe what we're considering: upgrade, equipment, lease. There may be more than one machine option, so we create a scenario for one of them. Upgrade to model X157. There, we set up what we need to evaluate a decision. First, we named the decision. This is like creating a folder that holds the scenarios we want to consider. Then, we created the first scenario. Now, we're ready for step 1 to a better decision. Break the decision down into smaller pieces. Did you know that studies have shown you can improve estimates 10 to 100 times by simply breaking the problem down to just a few pieces? We can break our lease decision down like this. There's the annual lease amount, the number of gizmos we expect to produce and sell for the year, and the cost savings from labor, material, and savings. That was simple enough. We've broken the problem down into smaller pieces, which completes step number 1 to a better decision. Now, step 2. Estimate ranges of values for each variable. The lease is $200,000 per year. It's our break-even goal. We estimate the sales could be anywhere from 20,000 to 55,000 units. How do we use a range like this for planning? The common approach is to take the average, 37,500 units. Don't do it! Using an average is make-believe. It's hardly any better than flipping a coin. The chances of that number actually being correct is almost 0. What about all the other possible values? And think of the psychological issues with coming up with just a single number. Corporate culture often rewards for exceeding goals and punishes for falling short. So whether they do it consciously or not, if you ask someone for a single number estimate, they're inclined to estimate low. So what's the best strategy? Use a full range. The magic of Desdi is that she will factor in the full range with the consequences of both low and high outcomes. Since we can never be sure of our estimates, we also tell Desdi how confident we are that the production will fall within this range, 90% in this case. That is, we're saying that there's a 10% chance that production may be above or below those two numbers. Desdi will factor that in too. Similarly, for all the other variables, the new machine should be easier to use. but it is newer and bigger and could actually take more labor. So we estimate a savings of minus $2 to plus $4. The new machine is more efficient, so we expect between $3 and $6 material savings per unit. And because it won't break down as much, we estimate the maintenance savings to be between $2 and $5 per unit. Each one of these is entered as a variable in Desdi. Let's enter the labor variable. We expected labor savings to range anywhere from costing us an extra $2 to saving us $4. Desdi uses this range to choose numbers for the simulation. In this case, we used a normal distribution, which chooses most of the numbers around the average of $1, with some numbers coming from the extremes. Similarly, we add the other variables, and that completes steps N1 and 2 for better decision. To recap, in step 1, we broke the decision down to manageable variables. In step 2, we estimated ranges for each variable. We're now ready for step 3, simulate the outcome. Now here's a question. Why do we need simulation? The model, which we enter as a formula, is really simple. Savings equals labor plus maintenance plus materials times units produced. So why does something so simple need an advanced technique like Monte Carlo simulation? Well, consider the complexity of just these 4 basic variables. Maybe labor is low, maintenance is high, materials and production are around the middle. Or it could be that instead labor is high and production is low. Or maybe, as the future unfolds, we see that all savings are low, but we have great production. Even 4 simple variables like this are enough to make a statistician's head explode. Imagine trying to figure out all the possible outcomes if there were 10, 100, or 1,000 variables, which is why Desdi uses Monte Carlo simulation. Monte Carlo was invented by the mathematician Stanislav Ulam while he was working on the Manhattan Project to create the first atomic bomb. While he was playing the simple card game solitaire, he wondered, what are the chances of getting a successful hand? Now this is just a basic statistics problem that as a mathematician he thought he could figure out. But all the combinations made it too complicated. So he thought, what if instead of trying to figure out all the statistics, I just deal out a bunch of hands and count the ratio that are successful? He took the idea excitedly to his mathematician and computer scientist friend John von Neumann and asked if this new computer thing that John was working on could help solve the problem. Oh, of course, John replies. With this new ENIAC computer, they could simulate in hours what maybe would take humans years to do. Back then, it took room-sized computers to perform these simulations. But today, the mobile computers we carry around have all the supercomputing power that's needed. And Desdi makes it easy to use. So step 3 to a better decision, simulate the outcome. The model, as we've seen, is simply the formula for the production savings. Our break-even goal is $200,000, and the decision criteria is, yes, lease if we save more than $200,000. So let's put this criteria into Desdi. Back at the scenario, where we asked about leasing model X157, we specified that the goal is to reach or exceed $200,000, and we want to be 80% sure that we will indeed break even or do better. Desdi then runs 1,000 simulations with random numbers for our variables, puts them together using our model, and gives the likely outcome. You can see that there's a small chance of saving only $26,000 or as much as $830,000. But that most likely the savings would be between $227,000 and $428,000. And that yes indeed, this would be a good choice. There's an 87% confidence of reaching the $200,000 savings goal. And that's all it took to implement these 3 steps to a better decision with Desdi. And now that you have a simple model, You can always improve it. Maybe someone expects materials will rise because of a shortage, so you increase the expected material savings. Or maybe you want to factor in the cost of breakdowns because they're so costly, so you can add a new downtime piece. Desdi makes it easy to capture and grapple with these complexities. Making such powerful decision-making technology in an affordable and easy-to-use smartphone and tablet app is the next advancement in decision-making. Desdi lets you easily model your decisions and share it with others on your team. Go to the App Store and check her out. Desdi will help you make better decisions. Thank you for watching.